Chapter 4, Section 5, Writing a Function Rule. Writing a function rule is going to be pretty much the same thing as writing an equation. So given a word problem or given a statement using words, you are going to write an equation or a function rule using notation. So the first example says Carolyn has 420 CDs in her collection. Each month she adds 12 more CDs to her collection. What equation is a function rule that represents this situation? We don't know how many total CDs she has, so we can write that her CDs are going to be equal to, she already has 420, so we're going to start with that 420, and then she's going to each month add 12 more CDs. So if it's been 1 month, she would add 12. If it's been 12 to the 420. If it's the second month, then she would add 24. If it's the third month, she would add 36. So a function rule or equation that can represent this situation is y, which would be the number of CDs, equals 12x plus 420. Y is the number of CDs that she has, and x would be the number of months that she's been collecting the CDs. The next example says, an archery club charges an annual membership fee of $65 plus $2 per visit. Write a function rule for the total cost of belonging to the club if you make V visits in a year. Then it asks how much would it cost if you use the club 15 times in a year. The first thing we need to do is go ahead and write a function rule for the total cost of belonging to the club if you make V visits in a year. We know that for the archery club it's going to be $65 annually. So each year you're going to have to pay $65. That doesn't include any of your visits. It's just to be a member, you pay $65. Plus, you're going to add $2 per visit. So if you visit 1 time, you would add $2 to that. If you visit 2 times, you would add $4, 3 times $6, and so on. We can write that as a function rule and say that C, which I'm using C for cost, it doesn't matter what you use there, equals 2V plus 65. V stands for visits, so your cost is going to be 2 times the number of times you visit plus the $65 annual fee. The next question says, how much would it cost if you use the club 15 times in a year? So to solve this for 15 times in a year, I need to plug in 15 for V. When I plug in 15 for V, 2 times 15 is 30. 30 plus 65 is going to be 95. So if you visit the club 15 times in a year, your total cost would be $95. The next example says, write a function rule for the area of a rectangle whose length is 3 inches more than the width. What is the area of the rectangle when the width is 7 inches? First thing you need to remember is that area of a rectangle is found using length times width. They're telling me that the length, so you multiply length times width. They tell you that the length is 3 inches more than the width. So we know that the length equals W, the width, plus 3. That would be 3 more than the width. And I'm just going to use W for width. So the length is W plus 3, 3 more than the width. And the width is just itself W. If the equation to find, or the formula to find the area of a rectangle is length times width, I can substitute in W plus 3 for length and say that the area of this rectangle is going to be W times W plus 3. Now, you could go ahead and you could distribute your W in. I am okay with you leaving this as A equals W parenthesis W plus 3. Another way that you could write it, though, would be A equals W squared plus 3W. Where I get W squared plus 3W from is just distributing in the W into what's inside of the parentheses. So W times W is W squared plus 3 times W is 3W. These say the same thing, and I'm going to prove to you right now that they are going to have the same value by plugging in 7, because it says what is the area of the rectangle when its width is 7 inches. When you plug in 7 to the equation on your left, you have A equals 7, parentheses 7 plus 3. When you have parentheses, you're going to do what's inside of the parentheses first. So you would have A equals 7 times 10. So the area of the rectangle would be 7 inches squared. Now, looking at the equation on the right, the A equals W squared plus 3W. Again, I'm going to plug in 7 because they ask me what the area of the rectangle is when the width is 7. In this case, I need to do the exponent first. 7 squared is 49, plus the 3 times 7 is 21. Well, 49 plus 21 is, again, 70 inches squared. So the two equations or two function rules that I've written, the A equals W parenthesis W plus 3 and the A equals W squared plus 3W, are going to get you the same value. It's the same function, it's just written in a different way. In the left, we didn't distribute the W. On the right, we did distribute the W. And it's not going to affect your final answer. The next example says, a kennel charges $15 per day to board dogs. Upon arrival, each dog must have a flea bath that costs $12. Write a function rule for the total cost for n days of boarding plus a bath. How much does a 10-day stay cost? The first thing I need to do is write a function rule. It's going to be $15 per day. Anytime we see per, we're thinking we're going to need to multiply that 15. And in this case, I'm going to need to multiply that 15 by the number of days that the dog is going to stay. Now, it also says that upon arrival, the dog must have a flea bath that costs $12. That is a one-time cost for the bath. Once they have the bath, they don't need another one. Hopefully they didn't have fleas, but they have their bath, so they're not going to be spreading it around the kennel. So the 15 is going to be multiplied by the number of days, and then plus 12 is going to be the cost for the one-time cost for the flea bath. So C, I use C again for cost, equals 15N, which would stand for the number of days, plus 12, which is the one-time flea bath. It asked me how much does a 10-day stay cost, so I plug in 10 for N. Well, 15 times 10 is 150, plus 12 is 162. So a 10-day stay is going to cost $162. Now my next question is, does a 5-day stay cost half as much as a 10-day stay? You can find this by plugging in 5 for N. So we could do 15 times 5 plus 12. 15 times 5 is 75 plus 12 is $82. Now notice 162 and 82. 82 is not half of $162. So the answer is no, it is not half the cost. The daily charge would be cut in half, so I've gone from 150 to 75. So the daily charge is cut in half, but you still have to pay that $12 for the wash regardless of how many days your dog stays. So the $12 is what kind of throws it off. Like it says here, the daily cost does cut in half because you've gone from 10 days to 5 days, and that is half as many days. However, that $12 wash means the total cost is not going to be half from 10 to 5 days. Today's assignment is on page 282. It's numbers 1 through 18 all, and then 28 through 31.